You got a Bible, open it. In Philippians chapter 3, I think there is the most radical life transformation in the New Testament. It's the record of Paul's transformation, of his life's transformation. For Paul, there was a day and a road. How about for you? There was a day and there was a road that changed Paul forever. Listen, please. What happened after you met Jesus? What happened? What happened in your life? Is there something you can point to and say, whoa, when I met Jesus, it changed? I was living in Hollywood at a top recording studio. The day I got saved, I left church, called the studio and said, I'm never coming back to Hollywood. Something just happened to me and I'm never gonna be the same. And I never have been. Paul's looking back on everything that was right in his life in Philippians 3, verse 7, and he says, I once thought these things were valuable. You got anything in your life you think's valuable? Yeah, man, I once thought these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless. I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Everything that mattered to Paul in his life, everything he considered valuable in his life, everything that he deemed important in his life after meeting Jesus Christ, he says it's worthless. In the first half of verse 8, Paul adds more power. It's not enough to say those things that I thought were valuable were robbing the true blessing from my soul. So he adds a second layer in verse 8a, first half. He says, yes, everything else is worthless. Everything is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. Everything, he's adding as much power as possible. First he says, all the things I thought had value were actually worthless. He says, no, wait, it's not enough. Everything is worthless. Everything is worthless when you compare it with the infinite value, the eternal infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus. And he says, no, it's not enough. Third layer, second half of verse 8, he says, for his sake I have discarded. It means I've willingly thrown away. It's not I've misplaced. It's that I've found it, looked at it, and thrown it out. I've discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage. Counting it all as garbage. Worthless isn't a strong enough word, so now he says, I'm discarding everything as if it were garbage. Why? Look at the end of verse 8, beginning of verse 9. So that I can gain Christ and become one with him. Paul says, when compared to the infinite value of knowing Jesus Christ, everything else is garbage. King James says it the best. Everything else is dung. When compared to knowing Jesus Christ, everything else, listen, please feel it. Everything else is animal excrement. That's what it says. When compared with the infinite value of knowing Jesus Christ, of gaining Christ, of becoming one with him, everything else looks like worthless garbage. And when Paul finally realized the worthlessness of his own effort and the infinite eternal value of knowing Christ, he finally says at the beginning of Philippians 3:10, I want to know Christ. I want to know Christ. It wasn't long after I was saved, I made that my life's verse, those 5 words. I want to know him. I want to know him. The word know is not know about him. You don't even have to be a believer to know about him. It's not learn information about him. That just makes you a college professor. It's not be able to talk about him. That just means you've been to church. This word is the famous Greek word that if you know me, you know it's my favorite Greek word. It has to be ginosko. Ginosko. It is an ever-increasing, personal, intimate, relational knowledge. It is an ever-increasing, personal, intimate, relational knowledge. That's what Paul is saying. I want to know Jesus like that. Read verse 10 again with me, and let me insert the definition of the word know. I want to have an ever-increasing, personal, intimate, relational knowledge of Christ. Not know about him. I want to know him. I have to know him.